One of the best things I've done recently on my film journey is delving deeper into Indian cinema. Why, you ask?
Because it's so much fun, Chan. Get it?
And you come to learn very quickly that the name Shah Rukh Khan is pretty much synonymous with Bollywood. He's often referred to as the Indian Tom Cruise, which would make you think that he's always been a full-fledged action star, but it's actually the contrary. He kind of got typecast as the king of romance. And he's been in action films before, but now at 57 years old, he's made it his mission to become an over-the-top action star. And his first outing was Pathaan, which was the first film to knock Avatar 2 out of the top spot globally earlier this year. And it was the film that I saw in theaters 3 nights in a row. And whereas Pathaan was a more straightforward, like, Mission Impossible mashup, Jawan, which was directed by Atlee, a historically Tamil director, and very sorry if I get any of these pronunciations wrong, but Jawan is an action thriller of Shakespearean proportions that starts as a modern take on Robin Hood and then morphs into an almost comically complicated story that references the Lion King, has people playing multiple characters and flashbacks, and an army of female prisoners as the soul of the entire film. Another off-the-wall, non-superhero movie. And we'll get into the dramatic twists and turns without spoiling anything, but what honestly surprised me the most about this film was how staunchly political it is. Shah Rukh Khan plays Azad, this Robin Hood character. He works with this team of female prisoners to right the wrongs in society. They've all been victimized by capitalistic greed and want to fight back. And it gets into some really heavy stuff like the suicide rate of farmers and the government covering up medical neglect that results in dozens of children dying. And there are some very clever and sometimes very twistedly funny ways in which this team tries to rectify things. And because they're fighting for justice, there's one scene that I loved where the community comes together to protect them, which is such a foolproof trope. I forget exactly what, like, superhero movie it's done well in. Maybe Spider-Man 2 it reminded me of, but it was such a great moment. And it can occasionally come across a little goofy, and I'm under no illusion that there aren't internal politics with Bollywood and India that I'm not clued into that might cause some people to roll their eyes with the get out and vote messaging and stuff like that. But for the most part, I think because of, first of all, because it's coming from such a beloved figure, Shah Rukh Khan, and the sincerity and blended tone of masala filmmaking, it just kind of works. And it's also just big budget entertainment. I saw Rocky Arani Ki Prem Kahani as well back in July. That's a romantic comedy, and I thought that film was delightful, and above all else, it's about conservatives and liberals being at odds with each other and how we treat each other. We all have the same freaking problems. But let's move on to dessert. The action is, of course, a total full throttle blast. This is less action heavy than Pathaan, or at the very least, it's smaller scale, so I personally preferred Pathaan in that way, and I thought the editing here could be a bit too chaotic at times, but there are some really well executed sequences, one being with a hospital being blown up. The introduction of this mysterious Vikram character was like heaven. You've got the slow-mo and the wind machines, and it gets pretty brutal in the cold opening as well. There's a highway chase sequence that rocks, and so many kick-ass moments with that group of female prisoners. One time they're disguised and pretending one of them is giving birth, and the bad guy that's driving the car goes, "Is it a boy or a girl?" And they just go, "A gun." I don't know what would be considered a spoiler here, so I'll just say that Shah Rukh Khan takes on like 6 different personas in this film. He's got this gauze wrap and a bald cap and a Phantom of the Opera mask. It's so sexy and different in such a genius way, specifically for him to showcase some range, but also to make his old age badass while reminding us that he's this immortalized superstar. And speaking of superstars, Deepika Padukone is such a hypnotizing on-screen presence. She's fierce and ethereal all at the same time. I don't understand how she's a real person, and her role here is surprisingly pretty small, but of course great. It's like a special appearance or extended cameo. It's actually kind of funny who she is in relation to SRK. This is my first time seeing Nayanthara, and I actually wish that she had more to do. She's part love interest, part like cop, and at first I didn't really buy it as a romance, but I remembered it is kind of an arranged marriage, so it's an interesting dynamic and more of that soapy drama. They shared a dance sequence together. Their fate was sealed. Vijay Sethupathi, who is just in Vikram, which I haven't seen yet, but that was pretty popular with American audiences. He's here as the main villain, Kali, who I thought was just okay. He's your bargain brand, sociopath, weapons dealer, but Sethupathi was definitely at least trying to elevate the character and ham it up a bit, which I appreciated. I really loved this story on paper, and I'd love to see it again because I did find myself myself at times getting confused with the flashbacks and tracking what exactly was going on. So I think it could definitely come across as too messy and too complex at times. But that's also a benefit of such a long runtime, is that there are sequences and details that you just completely forget about. So it's rewarding on a rewatch. And I've also heard that a lot of these features are Atlee trademarks. So I don't know how people feel about that. You know, there are obviously films from all over the world that are 2.5, 3 hours long, longer. But since it's such a trademark of Indian films, I definitely feel like engaging with them more and seeing them in theaters especially has kind of challenged the thoughts that I'd settled into about the structure of a film and just the movie-going experience in general. They actually don't give you the built-in intermission in American theaters, but like, give me the intermission. It's so enjoyable to see these opening weekend and be a part of the escapes and just the dance numbers and the action sequences and just commit to it as an event for 3 hours. We're having a weirdly slow couple of months for movies right now in general, and Jawan is a guaranteed way to get your fix of adrenaline from elaborate, explosive set pieces, personal vendettas, and raw star power. I'm going to give it 3.5 out of 5 stars. We'll see what happens on a rewatch, but I am sticking to saying that I still like Pathaan more. That's been the debate that's been going on. But regardless, this is obviously an emphatic recommendation to my friends who maybe wouldn't usually seek out Indian films. It's a must-see in theaters if you can find it near you. It released worldwide, I think, this past weekend. And if you can't find it, if it's not playing in your theater, Pathaan was released included with Prime Video not long after its release here, so hopefully there will be a similar situation. But anyways, those are my thoughts on Jawan, guys. As I've said before, please feel free to drop some Indian cinema recommendations in the comments for me and whoever else is going to be scrolling through them. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and keep an eye out for more videos soon.